and Learning to Fly YouTube channel. Streaming here this morning. Actually doing a little practice session here. So let me tell you what we're up to here. Hopefully everything's working. Let me just go and do a couple things here. We got a chat board up here, so if somebody can actually hear me okay, that would be great. If you'd post it in there, would be wonderful. As you folks probably know, my wife and I are selling our beloved 8 Foxtrot Sierra, and we actually have an offer on the plane already, which is kind of good news, bad news. We're having to push up our trip to Key West a little bit to make sure that we can facilitate the whole thing. And anyway, today what I'm doing is I'm using my brand new simulator here. Okay, geez. Okay, they can hear you. Sounds good. Okay, beautiful. Hey, Zach, how you guys doing here? I'll get rid of that now then. So anyway, I'm using my brand new Cirrus cockpit simulator. Let me see if I can show you. I've got a whole bunch of new tricks and views I've been working on here. Right here, there's our overhead view of our Cirrus cockpit here, which is the next best thing to actually sitting in the cockpit, although the fuel's a lot cheaper here. It's made by the fine folks down there at Real Sim Gear in San Diego, California. Here's another little view of all of the stuff right here. You can see it really does replicate the cockpit in so many ways, and it's a great tool for me to use to get ready for our upcoming trip here. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take you through this whole process. I'm going to hope that the stream and all that stuff is working properly. I'm going to focus here on getting started right now, and then we'll take some questions in the chat room here in a minute, okay? So first thing I'm going to do here today is I'm going to, and by the way, we'll have distractions, people coming and going. So feel free to stick around as long as you like, folks, or as short as you like. I'm going to just do this whole flight today, and I'll put it on some views here and walk away, and then I'll give you some idea when I'll be coming back here. But in any event, okay, let's go and get busy here. Okay, first things first, we got to put together a flight plan here. So the place that I do that, of course, is on my wonderful little iPad here. So let me pull it out of its thing here and we'll get going here. Okay, so we started with KSMO is our starting point, obviously, here in Santa Monica, California. My wife just is dying to go to Alamogordo, New Mexico, which is where the White Sands Regional Airport. It is, of course, famous, that whole area, for the area that the first nuclear bomb was exploded there, which I think is, most folks would probably have mixed feelings about that. I looked and noticed that they actually open the actual area where they pop the bomb off twice a year, and assure you that you're not getting much more radiation than I'm going to take that with a grain of salt from the White Sands there, maybe a whole handful of salt here. Anyway, she's dying to go to Alamogordo, New Mexico. Right now, she's hell-bent to stay overnight. I'm hell-bent to get to Austin. We'll talk about that a little bit later. In any event, we put together a flight plan here. And so I always put in my start point as KSMO and then the airport that I'm going to, which in this case is KALM, okay? And then I'm going to hit this little routes button over here, which is my easy way of getting a route that's already been pre-approved. Now, we're going to be flying it an IFR flight plan. For those of you folks that have watched my channel previously, you know I love the IFR flight plans because I actually enjoy the adult supervision and being in contact with all the ATC folks. So anyway, so I've selected that Victor. I've looked down here. You can see there's a number of different routes here. I'm taking the one Limbo Victor 64 thermal, okay? And the typical altitudes are 12,000 to 13,000 feet. I've got 17,000 in here, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. I'm going to click over here on the altitude field here, and you see a whole bunch of different ones displayed here. And at 17,000 feet, you got a 37 knot tailwind. At 11,000 feet, which is just underneath my kind of need some oxygen level, it's almost double the speed there. So you get there in 2 hours and 58 minutes versus 3 hours and 20. And I'll take that all day long if we can make that happen. So there's our flight plan right now. And here's how it looks all the way there. All right. Detail some fuel and all of that stuff along the way. And we'll talk about that now. Today, imagine we were taking off today. It's pretty shitty around California here today. Cold, and it was hailing yesterday. It's been raining hard this morning. They're predicting blizzard conditions up in the mountains, and there has been some very low snow in the area as well. So at any rate, but once we get out of the weather gets a lot better on the way to Thermal, and were we going all the way to Austin today, this would be a fine day to do that. Okay, so so that's what we would have done. Now I'm going to show you something else that's kind of mixed these whole sim versus real flight scenario. There's a little button over here on the top part of ForeFlight here. It's like a little square with an arrow. So I'm going to push that, and it gives us a number of different options. And what I'm going to do here today on the sim is I'm going to send it first to a section of ForeFlight called Flights. This is a very useful section here to give you all kinds of stats and information you're going to need for your flight, and it does a lot of the work for you. So for some of my old school buddies that think we should be doing all of this by hand, I'll leave that up to you. I'm going to use all the tools I can get my hand on. So you'll notice at the very top of this little flights section, it gives you some top level stuff. 644 miles. Nautical miles. It's going to take us about 3 hours according to plan. We should use about 51 gallons, and it gives you an idea of what the winds are, of the tailwinds, okay? Now, in this case here today, we'll just put flight plan today. 8 o'clock is going to be our departure time here, okay? It'll just be me and the wife in there, so let's put 2 people at 170. That's a good average between the 2 of us there. Our cargo, let's say that it's going to be 80 pounds. I'm traveling with the wife, so going light is high concept. We're going to go with high max fuel, which is 92 gallons here. And as you'll see here, as I enter this information, it starts to do the calculations for you. And then I would go and proceed to file here, okay? And file it there, and we get our flight plan. And I'll get an email and a text on my phone here letting me know, A, that the plan was received, and B, what the expected route will be that comes together. Okay, so now that's what we do here on a real flight here. Let me show you what we're actually going to do in our sim world here today. So now let me go over to Pilot Edge. Okay, I'm looking off to my left because I'm monitoring what's going on over here. All right, now let's go over to Pilot Edge here, and now I'm going to file this flight plan. I've already logged in here, and I'm going to go click on the flight plan button right here. Okay, now I'm going to go and fill this out, but first I want to make sure you can see it properly. Okay, great, you can. All right, so it's going to be an IFR flight today. We're in 768 Foxtrot Sierra for the time being. God, one day that won't be happening, but that's life. Golf is the category, and then we're going to go 175 knots. We're taking off at Santa Monica Airport. We're going to go to KALM. Now, this will be one of the few times that I have to lean over and use my keyboard over. KALM. There's KALM. We're going to be cruising at 17,000 feet today, 17000, which means we will be using oxygen. Our alternate airport, let's just say, we're going to say KELP for El Paso, just in case something got weird up there. And now we're going to put in our route here. So obviously, when you're entering this flight plan on Pilot Edge, you only need to put in the stuff in between, not the beginning and the end. So we're going to put in limbo. We have it down there. Yep. LIMBO space. Then we want Victor 64. Oops, let me get all this here. Victor 64 space. And then we want, what else we want? We got TRM. TRM thermal is in there, and that is correct. And then KALM. And so now if I hit enter, or just go click on flight plan down here, sorry, working through all this, and I see I've lost our connection